Hello, I am Archie Wright, the Executive Director of CBA. I want to welcome you to the AGM, and I especially want to welcome Tom Bolin, who is the Scholar in Residence in Jewish Christian Relations at Providence College in Providence, Rhode Island. Welcome, Tom. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Archie.
Today we are going to talk about his new book. It's titled An Inspired Word in Season, Reading the Bible Responsibly in a Polarized World by Liturgical Press Academic, which is published in 2025. We're really looking forward to hearing about this, Tom, and I know our audience is, and we welcome your thoughts on it. And we have three questions that we want to kind of let the audience know about the basic structure of the book, how it reflects on historical scholarship, and how this book will be most helpful to scholars and people in the church. So first, just give us the central idea or the focus of the volume and how that people can see what's going on in the book itself.
So the book begins with an observation that we live in a polarized country and that the Catholic Church in this country is polarized. And a lot of the issues that we're polarized around as we debate with each other, the Bible gets used. And so basing myself on that observation, I began to ask myself why. And so what the book does is it traces a couple of historical arcs, if you will. And one of those historical arcs is how the Americans have used the Bible in the history of the United States to argue about social issues and political issues. And then the larger historical arc is this long tradition of how we have come to read the Bible the way we do now. Because what's really key is when anybody reads the Bible, the way that they're interpreting the text, they're really taking part in a very long tradition of interpretation that they may not even know about. And so trying to know about that, and more importantly, to know that other people with whom you might disagree are also taking part in an interpretive tradition was one of the major things of the book that I wanted to do.
Following that, we have a history of scholarship now, so tell us how the book reflects on that.
The book is about, part of what the book is about is the history of how the Bible has been interpreted. Biblical scholarship, understood as an academic enterprise, is a subset of that larger history of interpretation. How we understand biblical scholarship is really a project that begins after the Enlightenment and very quickly, for lots of reasons, kind of sets itself off to the side and really takes place outside of the sort of the mainstream life of rank and file Christians. And so part of what I was hoping to do in the book is to try and make some of that biblical scholarship more visible to people who aren't normally part of that world of the academy and academic biblical studies.
Yeah, great. And our third question, how would the book be helpful to pastors in the church or rabbis in the synagogue or academics in the classroom? How is this going to be helpful to them?
Well, those are the people I wrote the book for. I've been a college professor for 30 years, and almost everything I talked about in the book were things that I had talked about with my students over the years. So this book was born in a classroom, in multiple classrooms, in multiple states and in multiple institutions. And so my hope would be this would be a book that pastors or teachers could use with their students that would introduce the student to first of all, the Bible and the history of how the Bible has been a part of American history, the larger history of how Christians have come to interpret the Bible in certain ways, and more importantly, towards the last half of the book, a particular way of interpreting the Bible that creates a space for dialogue between people on opposite sides of an issue in this polarized culture. And so I draw upon the writings of Augustine of Hippo, who is an early Christian author. He wrote one of the earliest Christian works on how to interpret the Bible, and he talks about the importance of grounding all of our biblical interpretations in love of neighbor. And I argue that the neighbor in this case is the person across the table with whom you might be in deep disagreement. And so that's sort of a space to begin hopefully with readers who are aware of this history of interpretation that I've described also in the book. And so it's a space to begin. It's a space to begin from a place of openness, and it's a space to begin with a demeanor, a disposition toward curiosity about the other, and an attempt to understand why they think what they do.
Great. That sounds fantastic. Well, that's it for our interview. And Tom, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time.
I look forward to reading your book.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all, and thanks for joining us.